Gentleman's time's expired. The chair now turns to the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson, for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, first I'd like to echo the comments of my colleagues to thank you and your staff for your hard work implementing the Farm Bill. I know it's a huge undertaking, but I appreciate that very much, and thank you for being here with us today so we can talk about some important issues. I would also like to acknowledge a special guest I have here with me today, Ms. Linda Andrews from North Carolina Farm Bureau. Linda and her boss, Mr. Larry Wooden, are valuable assets to our farmers in North Carolina and work very closely with my office, and appreciate her being here today. My question to you, Mr. Secretary, is regarding the Uwharrie Forest, which, as you, I'm sure, are aware, is located primarily in Montgomery County, but also extends into Randolph and Davidson counties in North Carolina in my district. I understand from our folks on the ground that the forest roads have sustained a lot of very serious damage due to heavy rains and flooding over the last few months. In some cases, these roads are completely impassable to our residents, tourists, and first responders. Needless to say, this is a very serious concern of mine, and I want to find a resolution as quickly as possible. I know that quick fixes in Washington sometimes can seem like an oxymoron, but I believe we can find ways to prioritize spending within the Forest Service to accomplish these type tasks. We simply must fix these roads, Mr. Secretary. It's more than a headache for our residents. It's really a safety issue. Having access. Mr. Secretary, could you explain to me briefly how the funding stream works through the forest regions when it comes to road projects like this that may be of an emergency nature?
It is really, we trust the folks on the ground to make decisions about prioritization of resources. I can tell you with reference to this particular forest that gravel is going to be applied soon to the roads that you've mentioned and many of the areas. Public safety is obviously a primary concern. Access for the public and for our Forest Service personnel to maintain the forest is obviously a priority, and that there will likely be grading that's going to be done on those roads at some point in time later in the spring. So there will be an addressing of that specific issue. But Congressman, honestly, the big challenge for us is that in the past, 13% of the Forest Service budget went to fire suppression. Today it's 40%. And the reality is, unless we have a different way of funding forest fires as we do tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, and other natural disasters, we're going to continue to have uncertainty in all other aspects of the maintenance, restoration, and resiliency budgets of the Forest Service. That's why we've proposed a different way of funding fires that would give us greater certainty in those key restoration maintenance budgets, so that we can continue to do a better job of maintaining the services that allow 166 million Americans to visit our nation's forests every single year.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for that, and I'm committed to working with you on this issue. I know how important it is. My staff's reached out to Chief Tidwell, the Forest Service. We appreciate his cooperation with this. I appreciate your commitment to get that gravel spread out and get those roads active again. On behalf of my constituents, I thank you. And Mr. Chairman, with that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes